I do the HIPAA. Mm-hmm.
The HIPPAA.
Yeah, no, really. Can you spell it? I was just wondering how you spell HIPAA when you did it. All right.
We got vendors can't even spell it.
That's true.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Card and Compliance. Good afternoon, Donna.
Hello, David.
How you been?
Hey, I'm better at least.
I know you sound better.
Yeah, I'm starting to sound a little bit more like myself, although I was around a whole bunch more people, you know. So here we are going into New Year's weekend. Who knows what'll happen?
I know. 2018 already.
I know.
I don't know if 2017 is still fresh. Maybe it's when you get older, it goes faster. I don't know.
I know. Well, that's what they say. Time flies when you're having fun, David.
So you have more fun as you get older?
I guess. That or
you just remember it less.
Life passes you by and you aren't even paying attention. I think that one's it.
So as we talk about 2017, our topic for today is going to be looking at what OCR did as they ended 2017 with a bang.
Jeez.
Yeah, interesting stuff. But before we dive into that, as usual, where will you be?
February 16th, I'm doing the Ambulatory Surgical Center, Georgia and South Carolina joint semi-annual conference and trade show. And there's February 22nd, I'm doing something, but I don't know enough yet to tell everybody. And then, well, no, I can't do that March one yet. But, okay, then there's April. Then we jump to Jaw Society Annual Conference in Newport Beach, California, April 22nd through the 25th. So I got things going on. At least things are starting to move. So, yay, I'm moving out of holiday brain. It's like, it's like you're supposed to have 3 little hamsters on a wheel. 2 of my hamsters says, hey, we're going to take holidays off.
Yeah, I saw that fruitcake.
Hey now, who you calling a fruitcake?
So guess what I got going on next week?
What are you doing?
So I am merging my IT company with another friend's IT company to create a whole new thing.
And what is that new thing?
It's going to be called Security First IT.
I like it.
Pretty cool name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that means that security comes first?
Yeah, that's kind of the point of the name.
We're living on the edge.
I know. Well, I'm going into, believe it or not, going into my 20th year in the IT field. Or IT business, actually. I started the business in 98.
Well, see, that tells you that you should limit how many times you call me old.
Yeah, but I'm only 25 years old.
Well, congratulations, David and Anton. We have mentioned Anton. He won our money, so now we would like that money back.
Yeah.
The Amazon gift card. But we do congratulate David on his new venture. And Anton, let me know when you need some support group stuff.
Yeah, he will need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that because we're moving as an IT company. We're moving a lot stronger into the security space, and even being more proactive by providing other things around security awareness and training and all those things that try to do more than just throw technology at problems or throw money at problems, but actually, looking at it from a micro and macro level to fix the issue.
Right. There you go.
Because it ain't going anywhere.
That's a great idea, actually fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So
anyway, for those of you who are interested in the HIP Boot Camp, then you might want to head over to HIPAA Boot Camp. I'm sorry. It is HIPAAbootcamp.com. But we also have, I forgot we had that one. We also have helpmewithhipaa.com/bootcamp. Go to either one of them.
We have the HIPAA Boot Camp.
That's right, the HIPAAbootcamp.com. So you can head over there, get information on it. We haven't yet scheduled one for Q1, but because we've been trying to figure out when the first one is going to come through from all the ones we got kind of tossed up in the air. So everybody's like, when you going to have one? I'm like, I don't know. We got so many people that are trying to get through the red tape of their organizations to get us out there. We're kind of scared to book anything.
Yeah, I know. It's like, I don't want to give up on those good ones.
I know. So for those of you who are already on our radar, hurry up. Get something rolling here. But also, if you want to be a Patreon, which means you will support the podcast, and for those of you who already done it, thank you a bunch, because it helps tremendously. But you can go to helpmewithhippa.com/give if you want to help support the podcast. You can do it for as little as $0.25 an episode. So, yeah, not going to break the bank here, people. If you found any value at all, even if you laughed one time, it's worth $0.25. Also, we have the Help Me with HIPAA app. You can check that out anywhere you get your apps from. And we have some cool features there as well. Check that out. And of course, leave us a review somewhere. Facebook, your podcasting app, anywhere you can find a place to leave a review. We also appreciate those. So
yes, please. We need some reviews. We did not push the review requests enough. In 2017. So 2018, it needs to be begging for a review year.
Yeah. And if you've already done one, do another one.
Yeah. And those who've asked, where can you do one? You can do one on our apps in the App Store. You can do one on Stitcher. You can do one on iTunes. You can do one on Facebook group. Or you can shout out to us on your LinkedIn page to say, hey, guys, I appreciate you.
Yeah, because believe it or not, it helps a lot. As a matter of fact, guess who retweeted something that Donna put out there the other day?
I know David was impressed.
I was impressed. My wife was even more impressed than I was.
Really? Yeah, I know. Carla was blown away too. So
I know. So it was the Hirschevek group. For those of you who like watching Shark Tank, you'll know who I'm talking about. So, we get some people that see some things. And,
their 9,900 followers saw us quoted. One of our episodes quoted on the Hirschevek Group's security InfoSec. #InfoSec. That was us.
Yep. So shout out to Robert Hirschevek. We'll hook up for dinner one day.
It's your job to get him on the podcast, David. Your job.
I'll try.
All right, so
I tried to meet him at Hymns, but then they swept him out of there like Elvis has left the building and he was gone.
Yeah. Well, this way he wouldn't be anywhere near you, and there's a better likelihood that we could do it. So you're in charge.
Okay. All right. Good. So that brings us to our topic for the day, which is OCR ends 2017 with a bang.
Yeah. Well, this one we kind of alluded to on one of our other podcasts because the alerts came out about it as we were preparing to record, but it wasn't the official OCR announcement, which is what I usually wait on. Interestingly enough, this one came out when it was made public record in bankruptcy court.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I would think that you will find OCR likes to do their own little gig. So I went with OCR, their report, but most of this information was already out, short of the quotes and stuff from OCR. But it's 21st Century Oncology that's headquartered in Fort Myers, Florida, which I love Fort Myers. It's where Sanibel is right off there. Go there every year. But they are providers of cancer care and radiation services, but not just in Florida. They have centers in 17 states and 7 Latin American countries. So it's a big organization. 179 centers in total. 36 of those are in Latin America. So by and large, very much across those 17 states of Latin Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a big operation, granted. But your buddy Roger's quote, Director Severino, you like his quote, I'm sure.
I do like Roger Severino's quote.
Yeah? You want to get the opportunity to read it?
So he says, and I quote, People need to trust that their private health information will remain exactly that, private. It's
There you
not
go.
just my hope that covered entities will learn from this example. I like how he uses that example.
Yeah.
And proactively find and address security risk. It's what the law requires.
Yes. So it's not just my hope they will learn and address this. It's also what the law requires. He's making it clear that, this is the law, and he's looking at it that way. So it'll be interesting to see.
2018, going to be hammer time.
Hammer time. So that's his quote concerning this, and we often pay attention to whatever the director says in these, because we see these really as guidance on what you should be doing and what they are finding. And these investigations aren't investigations that say, oh, everything's great now, but what were you doing before? I can assure you that in a lot of cases, the investigation involved what was happening right now.
Yep.
But as in the court settlement for the bankruptcy, Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection that they filed in May of 2017.
Let me guess. They were trying to get away from the fines.
Well, yeah. Well, these guys, we'll get into that in a minute. They have a lot of fines and a lot of lawsuits. I mean, I think it was like $123 million that they ended up, settling across all of this in bankruptcy court. They also, so $2.3 million went to OCR for the HIPAA data breach, and they agreed to a 2-year cap. So, it's Chapter 11, meaning they're going to still be in business, and OCR often reduces what the fine will be if they can, if they think, anyway, they can get them to be compliant. And the corrective action plan is designed to do that. So, sometimes they do a corrective action plan, which doesn't include any kind of monetary settlement. But $2.3 million you get out of somebody that's Chapter 11, you could have gotten a lot more, it's clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the fact that we hear that all the time. We hear where people, they just refuse to do HIPAA compliance work, and they're very defiant about it. And they say, well, I'll just declare bankruptcy if anybody ever tries to fine me for not doing it. Well, okay. Well, there you go. It's right in the middle of the bankruptcy agreement. So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to go away and that they'll stop. In fact, they kind of elbowed their way to the front of the line, more or less.
Maybe they could get a place down next to you in Consueloville.
That's right. Consuela. I think it would be a better life for me.
Yeah, but I've heard that exact thing from providers. I'm too small, and I'm not going to spend all the money to do HIPAA, which it's not that expensive anyway. But if they come after me, I'll just file bankruptcy, close the doors, and move to Mexico.
Well, we talked about in our last episode the report that said it's clear doing the work of compliance saves you money in the long run. And let's also you hear the same question of, well, I've got cybersecurity insurance, so I don't have to worry about it. They'll just pay. And in this case, it appears that the insurance provider is going to, their cyber insurance provider is going to end up paying the $2.3 million, according to some of the other articles. But, good
luck getting insurance from here on out.
Exactly. These insurance carriers are starting to catch on to those statements. And the applications that you file for your cyber insurance ask you if you're doing these things. Well, if you say on your application you're doing them, and then OCR does an investigation and you admit you're not doing them, there's going to start to become some issues in there.
Yeah.
And
I had heard a case where the insurance company said they would pay, but in order for them to pay, part of what the company had to sign was something saying that it was their fault, which means the insurance company can and probably will come back and file a lawsuit against the company for, not doing what they said they would do.
Or at least to say, don't file another one.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying it's your fault now, then number one, your rates are going to go up. Number two is you better not file another one because we're going to be asking you even more questions. So it's almost like, you get, according to what we covered in last episode, it's going to end up costing you way more when something goes wrong. And it's not if, it's when. Mm-hmm. And compliance with privacy and security regulations, particularly the security ones, will actually prevent things from going wrong, or at least mitigate the damage when they do go wrong. So there's a reason to do these things. It's not just, somebody somewhere decided that this should happen. There's actually cases where we know these protected people. So in both of those points that we made there, and those business owners who make those statements of, I've got cyber security coverage, so I'm not going to worry about doing it, or I'll file bankruptcy, I'm not going to worry about doing it. It's a really important point for them to understand that when they make those statements with such bravado, they are also saying that my patient's privacy is not a major concern of mine. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying when you make those statements. And I just want, as part of what we are doing more and more with these businesses when we work with them, I want to be clear with them that when you make statement A or statement B, that you follow it with statement C.
Which
says, I don't think that protecting my patient's privacy is very important, and I'm not going to spend any money on it. Mm-hmm. Because that's what you're saying. Oh, yeah. You're saying, you're worried about, this line item, which we've already shown you is something that you can save money on and protect your patients at the same time. So if all you're worried about is how much this is going to cost you, number one, we've already discovered that it actually costs you less. So it's actually a good investment. And number two is you're basically saying, I don't care about my patient's privacy. There you go.
You're right. And I've seen it tons of times. I've had conversations with clients where, they can't afford to replace all their XP computers that are out of compliance and not being patched anymore. Can't afford to do any of that. But when you call them around Christmas time, they're gone for a month-long trip to Europe.
Yeah, I'm in New Zealand or Italy or spending Christmas in, Key West or wherever, the Caribbean. I've got money to do that, but I don't have money to replace these 3 XP computers.
Right. Yeah.
So yes, the OCR looks at that. They do pay attention to that. Let me be clear there. That they are aware of those kinds of things. So that gets back to the 21st Century Cancer Care, the oncology organization, whatever it is, 21st Century Oncology, that these folks are paying a bunch of different settlements. There's another data breach back in 2012 that they're getting resolved through this thing. They've even admitted that they falsified their attestation for meaningful use money. And they're paying that money back too.
Yeah, that's no surprise. I personally know of several people that have done that.
Yeah, and they're starting to come back and get that money. We know other groups that have had to pay back their money.
I know. It's nuts. But back when the Meaningful Use Stage 1 first came out, I can't tell you how many conversations I had about, oh, you're getting money? That's great. Did you do a risk analysis? No. What do you mean no?
Yeah, did you even worry about the security of your EHR? No. I just have to fill out the paperwork and get my money.
Yeah, I checked the box, dude. I got paid.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a lot of that's coming back around. So if you are one of the people that that happened, be aware that there are many, many cases where, the good news is all of our clients that have worked with us on their meaningful use attestation, as far as the parts that we were involved in, they were very astute with the parts that we weren't involved in because, we asked too many questions. But in all those cases, we've been able to supply every piece of documentation that's ever been asked. However, the ones who come to us and say, can you do and I know you've heard it too.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah. And I've gotten multiple emails from other IT vendors who say, what do you do when this happens? Can you make me a risk analysis report from 2015, 2016, and 2017? No. I cannot.
I know. Matter of fact, we've had one of the members in HIPAA for MSPs had that very thing happen to him a few weeks ago. Crazy.
You've got to wonder what goes through these people's minds. And I feel bad, really, for the practice managers who come to us and they say, okay, I took this job last year. And now I'm being audited on 2014, 2015, which I wasn't even here. And I can't find any of this documentation that they said they had. So yet another reason to have a documentation tool that is not some folder somewhere that somebody knows what it is and it's kept in 6 folders on some server, or so-and-so has it in their Dropbox. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that we recommend using a tool like Comply Assistant. So anyway, back to the story at hand, which this clearly has a lot of areas that could take us down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things wrong with this, but let's talk about this particular breach that they're settling. First of all, it was in 2015, and we just said in our educated guesses, which not predictions, educated guesses, that we would begin to see settlements from 2015. And yeah, we kind of maybe knew about this one, but I don't think we thought about it when we were doing it. But I don't think this is, necessarily indicative of what we're talking about. We expect to see more because they're finally getting to them. But this case happened on 2 separate occasions, two different dates. They notified them. The FBI notified them.
That's not good when the FBI lets you know you have a breach.
Yeah. Not only that, the FBI notified them on 2 separate occasions on November 13th, 2015 and on December 13th, 2015, that they had an informant that was buying their patient information off the darknet, or from, I'm assuming that's where it was. I think I read that, but they're buying it from somebody.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm buying your patient information. So we had an informant buy on November 13th, and then we had an informant buy it again on December 13th. And there's a lot of it out there. Well, to their advantage, they did, hire a forensic auditing firm in November after the first notification to say, what the what? And how is this happening? And where is this coming from? Well, and this is one of those things where we tell you, don't do this. Don't allow this. Okay. And for all of those people that say it's no big deal, it's only on this server, again. Okay. That in October of 2015, that the remote desktop protocol, and I think we probably got back way into 2016 that we were telling people don't use this, and I don't know if we were doing it all the way back this far. Remote desktop protocol was available on an Exchange server on their network. And clearly not secure. We've told you repeatedly, remote desktop protocol has a lot of problems.
Yep.
And so I don't know whether it was open RDP to a public network or it was only open internally and people got into it. My guess is it was open public. That this Exchange server, which David just today was talking about how much he hated.
Yeah. Don't like Exchange. Don't like Outlook.
Don't like those, but prefers Windows over Mac. So it's not, it's the tools, not the vendor.
I just like poking people with Macs.
I know. Well, I'm not even going there. You find anything that you can get on somebody's nerves and you're in.
There might be some truth into that statement.
Yeah. If you think you can cause trouble, you're in. And that's it. So, and you don't care if somebody tries to do it back to you. It doesn't matter.
I've learned to deal with that.
And nothing matters to you as far as being able to get under your skin. There might be a few things, but not many. But as part of their investigation, they find this remote desktop protocol from the Exchange server on the 21st Century's Oncology Network was accessed, and then they used that access as a launching pad into their SQL database, their SQL database on the same network. They were able to access it because they got into the Exchange server. So yes, it's just on your Exchange server, but hello, I can use that as a launching pad into other things on the network. All they have to do is get into one, and then they find ways to attack the others.
Yeah, just leave the window unlocked is all you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're going to get in, and then they work from there through the whole office building. So they used it to get into the SQL database server and then pulled all the patient data out of there in October, as early as October. They don't know how long, at least for the information they're publishing. They're not telling us a lot, but they determined how many individuals were affected, David?
2.2 million individuals.
Yeah.
Or if you want specifics, it's 2 million.
So basically, they did, they did $2.3 million. So it's like $1 for every individual.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. And that's just on the fine. And we've talked about the fine is the cheapest part of one of these cases. Right. It's the cheapest part. You're going to spend way more than that on some of these other things. So just pointing it out that they gave back all of the money that they got for meaningful use, and they paid all of this, and they had the 2012 breach that had class action lawsuits. There were several of those going on. So here's what OCR said after they evaluated, and they said, after this has happened and you realize that over 2 million people have been exposed, and clearly in a way where name, social security number, the physician's name, the diagnosis, the treatment, the insurance information, the FBI saw that somebody actually had this information. So you can't question whether or not there's harm. The information's been sold. So the harm question is getting, that whole question.
It's always harm.
Yeah. They always say you can't prove harm. Well, here's the thing. We're able to show that their data was purchased by criminals. So now it's getting a little bit easier to prove harm. Anyway, back to the story. As OCR says, they did not conduct an accurate and thorough risk analysis. It's the same one that we go to every time. I can't wait to see a settlement that doesn't mention that. That involves a data breach and doesn't mention that it mentions something else. They didn't implement security measures sufficient to reduce risk and vulnerabilities to a reasonable and appropriate level. There's our favorite point, reasonable and appropriate. That's always good. And then we did not implement procedures to regularly review records of information system activity such as audit logs, access reports, and security incident tracking reports. So they were not paying attention to their network, which is how somebody was able to get in and go from Exchange over to the SQL server. They failed to have a written business associate agreement with third-party vendors with whom they had disclosed PHI. Now, that one I couldn't figure out just from reading the information that was there. So all of you who, Don't worry about your business associate agreement. There's your list of failures. Boom.
Yep.
So you're not auditing. You're not handling security measures. You're not doing a risk analysis, and you're not doing business associate agreements with third-party vendors.
And if they would have started with the accurate and thorough risk analysis, all the rest of the things would have been
They show up.
Notice,
yeah,
right?
It's
They would have
amazing.
noticed that.
You know, we find all of that. Are you looking at this? Kind of.
Yeah.
You know, do you have business associate agreements? Maybe. Yeah. What about your high risk business associates? Let's start there.
Yeah.
So their 2-year corrective action plan includes doing the risk analysis and risk management plan that they didn't do, revising their policies and procedures, educating the workforce on the policies and procedures. How many times have we talked about training isn't about what HIPAA says?
Mm-hmm.
Training is about what your policies and procedures say you're going to do under HIPAA. Provide all maintained business associate agreements to OCR, so they're going to go through all their business associate agreements, and have an internal monitoring plan submitted and approved by OCR. Yeah. So there you go. That's what went wrong. You know, we had the data breach, and after investigation due to the data breach, we determined all these things weren't being done, and we did the $2.3 million settlement and a 2-year corrective action plan that included doing all of the things over a 2-year period that you haven't been doing for years because it costs too much money, probably.
I bet you don't cost as much as it does now.
Yeah, no, really. Or somebody somewhere said, we have HIPAA covered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're
Just
doing
had
that.
somebody
We're
tell me
good.
that yesterday. Oh, yeah, we don't need HIPAA. We just need this other compliance stuff. Okay. I took care of it. I did it myself. Right there. I do the HIPAA. Mm-hmm.
The HIPPAA.
Yeah, no, really. Can you spell it? I was just wondering how you spell HIPAA when you did it. All right.
We got vendors can't even spell it.
No, true.
Anyway.
Yeah, that happens everywhere. So that appears to be the last one for 2017. They may slip one in. You know, they have done them. We got a couple of days left because here we sit on Friday the 29th. It's possible that we could get one on the 31st. I don't anticipate it, but it's possible. So that being said, old pal of mine, I went back and said, okay, let's see how we did for 2017 versus 2016. So that's 10 resolutions totaling $19,393 based on my computations. Could be off slightly, not a lot, but So that's in the last 2 years, there were 23 resolutions for $42.9 million. But that's only 23 resolutions. So there's your average of 1.86, you could call it $1.9 million per settlement, plus the corrective action plans.
Wow.
So there we're starting to see some numbers. And I said, okay, if I look at that over the last 2 years, what happened in 2012 through 2015? So there's 4 years, 12, 13, 14, 15, there's 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
How did we do over those 4 years prior to the last 2 years so that we can see what it looks like? Well, okay, the last 4 years, they had 22 cases totaling roughly $21 million and an average of $952,000 each.
Ooh, that's a big difference.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's 4 years. So even if you look at just this year as enforcement's been down over last year, not a lot. There were 13 last year. There were 10 this year.
Yeah.
And the amount is double on the average number of ones. So you got to keep in mind that also a lot of those cases that were settled of those 23, and certainly all the ones prior to that, those are ones from 2012 to 2015. We haven't hit the rest of 2015, 2016, or 2017 cases. And Lord knows there's a plethora of them out there.
Yeah, I know.
Because what you have to realize is that they investigate data breaches that are reported over 500. So they investigate all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a ton of those. We know, and we can look at those numbers once we get to the end of, because people are slipping them in still. I still know of some that are slipping in there.
Mm-hmm.
There were some that just came in this week. So when we get to officially the end, we're going to look at what those numbers look like for 2017 versus previous years. But they also investigate complaints. So since 2003, when you could do complaints, right?
Mm-hmm.
They received over 167,000 complaints. And then they have the data breaches to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
They initiated 857 compliance reviews based on that 167,000 complaints. So they may ask you for information on the complaint and not decide to evaluate, your review, to review things. So I know cases where the data breach came in via complaint. A complaint was filed that notified them of a data breach. So you kind of have a duplicate there. But they've resolved a vast majority of the complaints. But you're still looking at 5,000 of them, because they say they've resolved over 162,000, 162.5. And so they still have another 5,000 complaints to resolve.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the data breaches. Boom. So there's going to be a steady stream of settlements that are announced. We can still see that happening. I agree with Sir Severino on it's not just my hope that covered entities will learn from this and proactively find and address their security risk. It's what the law requires you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's plenty of fodder out there. They have a plethora of places to look. It's what are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
And there's some folks I worry about. I mean, we get calls from people after the damage is done to say, hey, will you help us show OCR we're trying? And sometimes I'm amazed at, I think, okay, everybody that's not trying, they're doing it defiantly. I'm amazed at the number of people that we still find that had no idea.
Huh.
I know.
What about, do you still find that people think they're doing okay? Not that they're thumbing their nose at it. They just really honestly think they're doing what they should be doing?
Yeah. I mean, I had somebody yesterday tell me flat out, I can do the HIPAA. I did it myself. Well, they're not.
Right.
Number one, if they did it themselves, they didn't mention doing it. They mentioned doing it with somebody that also helped them do OSHA.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. They mentioned doing it with somebody, and I know what that person did, and they said, hey, this is where my company does it, but it's nowhere near what you guys do. And I know that what we do on the ones that are really bad off, we don't do everything because it's just too overwhelming. So we start with, okay, here's the big picture. Let's narrow down to the little picture, something that you can actually accomplish right now. Mm-hmm. And we try to lead them along so that, it takes from the ones we get that have no clue what they're doing and they don't even know that you don't know what you don't know. It's a good 2 years before we're able to build a program that is responsive and fully aware, because they're usually in a deep hole.
Right.
So you got to fix all the hole issues going back and then move forward. And it's hard enough to move forward from a plane. So if you're starting from scratch, to say, I took care of the HIPAA, I did it myself, and I started from scratch because my OSHA person, I did what they did with me a couple of years ago. And that was this week.
Yeah, even if you did do it yourself, I mean, it just makes sense to have a third-party company come in and audit that. I mean, why would you?
Well, but still, how can you do it yourself if you didn't involve your IT company?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do it themselves. They did what they thought they were supposed to be doing, but
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's like, well, how did you work with your IT company? No, I didn't need to.
Oh, really?
How did you do security? I mean, how are you doing your policies and procedures? So it's a problem. And, I'm trying to come up with some episodes where we can get into specific details. And if there's we do run a business where people pay us to do this. So it's hard to draw that line and say, how much am I going to give away versus, how much am I going to try to make a living at? So if I'm not making a living giving away free on the podcast, I got to make a living somewhere else. So it is a hard line, but we're lining up some stuff. And then, of course, David's going to bring in Hershevek for an interview in 2018. But
anybody knows him out there, tell him to give me a call.
Yeah. Hey, it's your job. You said if I needed somebody for an interview, just tell me who. Tell you who, and you were.
Well, how about work your way up? Don't.
I did. No, you didn't. I got us the contact. I got us in. So now you can start using that tweet. There you go.
All right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get there a little at a time. But the big thing to know is HIPAA's not about compliance. It's about patient care. And we say it. It's kind of our tagline. It's our thing. And David's tried to trademark it and all of that. But it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And you are protecting privacy and security. You're protecting your patients. You're protecting your clients. You're protecting your business by doing it. It's not something that's, okay, well, accounting rules say you got to do this. And this is how you can classify that and classify this. It's not the same as, taxes and where the loopholes are and all of that. That's not what this is about anymore. So there's some studies coming out about medical identity theft. We're going to do some stuff talking about what the studies show about what you should be concerned about out there and education of people.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, it's a 3-part study. The first one is about where the regional issues are, and guess where the big hotbed is?
Atlanta.
The Southeast. The whole Southeast is a hotbed of medical identity theft. But there are other hot pockets of it around the country as well.
I'm sure.
Jeez. All right. So anyway, 21st century oncology, bankruptcy didn't stop the OCR from getting their piece. It's not stopping CMS from getting their money back for meaningful use. Their insurance provider may pay for it, but I would bet somewhere they're paying for it.
Right.
And that's only, the insurance provider's not going to pay every part of it. There's no way that they could cover what this thing is costing them.
Yeah.
Millions.
Still be interesting to watch.
Yes, indeed.
All right. That is our show for today, folks. Please remember to follow us and share us out on your favorite social media site. Rate us on your podcasting app. We need help. We need your help spreading the word. So do your part. Jump out there. Get it done. Always remember that you can send us questions, and Donna will answer them because she doesn't let me answer questions. You can send those to contact@helpmewithhipaa.com, and we'll even put them on the air. So remember, for Donna and myself, HIPAA is not about compliance. It is about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.